Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So in regards to like the whole structural engineering, I would say that was like at a young age. Like it's like watching, like when you watch someone in their tendencies. So it's like me looking back. I'm like, okay, my tendencies were, like someone that opens up the radio and being able to like look at what that is and then being able to put it back together, or excuse me, or being able to do the same thing with a camera or a car. I was like, okay, but obviously due to lack of resources, I didn't have the privilege to exploit it how I wanted to. So um, so I would say that same energy was applied to um, beat sequencing. So that's what I first started off with, Fruit Loops. So when I someone introduced me to Fruit Loops, and like immediately that energy that I had towards like that engineering aspect of things, it was immediately applied to my music production. And I'm talking about, it was so crazy to the point where like all I would literally do is put sound on top of sound, sound on top of sound, sound on top of sound, until it made this big sonic wall, and I'm talking about to the point where like there'd be no way that artist can hop on this record because there was no space for that artist to hop on, but then like now that I look back, I'm like, oh, okay, that's because of that, like that structure, that structural aspect of it. You're just building, you want to build something that's bigger than you, so from there it took me a long time, man. It took me a long time to learn how to take out sounds and kind of like make the record move, hook, bridge, hook, verse, and all that stuff. So I would say that's kind of where it correlates. And then on top of that too, I would say like it's still being applied to this day, man. Like once you like producers, like once you're able to produce one thing, I do believe you're able to produce many, and whatever that is, like whatever that other passion is, I do believe that, yeah, you're able to do that. So it's just a matter of just like listening to your subconscious, listening to yourself and being like, okay, like just putting the pieces together and not being afraid to try those things out, so yeah, definitely I would say that's kind of where it falls, and that's kind of where it falls. Like now, right now, today, like I would probably say like now, instead of me like really focusing on structural engineering, it's more based on space. Like how do you create a tone or a sound that provides a space? Like is like, in what space would you play Sade? Or what space would you play Chief Keef? And being able to understand that space and being able to know, okay, what type of people are going to be in that space and in that form. So I'd say that's kind of where my mind is at now. There's more so space, but definitely like a structural engineering definitely did help me with, in regard to like just building like these crazy sounds, man. And you could still kind of hear them to this day. Like when you listen to My Youth and Bleed, like you kind of still hear those elements, but nonetheless, yeah, man, I would definitely say that is where the two kind of meet, and how I still kind of apply that to this day. No, so I went all over, man. I went to Fruit Loops, Ableton, Logic, Cubase, um, and right now I'm currently using it's called Studio One by Personas. Like it's probably my favorite right now, man. Only because it's like the best of both worlds. It kind of reminds me of like a sequencer, like so like Ableton and Pro Tools are like kind of like in the same software. So like now, if I want to make a beat, I have a natural flow, being that I'm coming from a sequencer like Ableton and Fruit Loops. But then if I want to record, it also has that element too, kind of how it is with using Pro Tools or maybe Logic. So definitely, man, you got to check that out, man. Check out Studio One, man. It's dope. So in regards to like doing like structure, like how like to structure a record, or like the writing and the artistry aspect of it, I would say that's like the super producer in you. Like that's like, when you were like, you know listening to Kanye or listening to the Net Pharrell, and like, yo, these guys made the beat. and they're rapping, they're doing the hook, like that's crazy. So it kind of inspired me to like essentially do the same. It's like, okay, if I'm gonna make this beat, what would the hook sound like, you know? And being able to kind of just like move her that way. I would say, man, most of the time, majority of the time, like everything that I make, I have to like essentially create a reference or have a reference in mind. But at the same time, too, I believe that like producers now, like, you know, like producers. So I'm not gonna say a beat maker, because beat maker just kind of you know, they typically, you know, they make beats, you know. So but producer is like they're thinking a bit more differently. They're thinking about like the tone of the artist on the record, or how the hook should sound. Should it be repetitive? Should it not be repetitive? Is there too many harmonies? A lot of harmonies and stuff. Like producers, that's where their mind is at. It's like they want to produce the record, create the record, and a full-fledged from back to end, from telling the artist to do this to doing that. So for me, it's like I do I do that to myself, man. It's like I'll sit there and I'm like, all right, yo, Benny, you gotta do it like this, and you gotta do it like this, and you gotta throw the vocals up here, and you know. So, and after a while, it just becomes second nature. Like you're making a full-fledged record. You're able to mix it how you want it to sound, and but it's definitely trial and error, man. Definitely trial and error. But I would say I think that's just where it really comes from. It just comes from your influence. So coming from that era, or seeing that era, like that, the super producer era, is like, you know, you had to kind of do that if you want to be a producer, not a beat maker now, you know. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna write my hooks. I'm gonna write these verses and try to shop out a whole record. But still, nonetheless, it was like, even though I was doing that, a part of me was like, still wanted to be that producer first. I don't really care to be an artist. And even right now, to this day, man, I'm still trying to understand how to be an artist, man. It's like it's no longer just about the music anymore. You gotta have content. You gotta be social media savvy. And I'm coming from a space where I just produce, and I just ship it out. That's it. So like now, trying to put myself out there as an artist is that is like, I feel like that's like the new wave now. It's like not only do you have to produce your music, but now you have to produce your content, you know. So what does that look like? What does that, you know, what does that entail? What's the message behind it? And like, as a producer, I mean, you might have an easier time, or I might have easier time doing it, being that I am a producer. But nonetheless, it's like, how do I do that as an artist, you know? So like, even if you go through my social media, like my Instagram, you know, you'll still see like elements of me just like making a record. You know, that's because that's what I know how to do best. So I'm still trying to figure out how to market myself or put myself out there as an artist. Yeah, but I hope that answers your question.